Hi everybody, this is Bruce with Habowskistudio, and welcome to part 4 of how I do an oil painting. And today I'm going to try to actually wrap up this painting. I don't think I have too much to do. I put on some real strong highlights in different parts and try to, in a sense, scuff up the graffiti a bit and really try to work on making sure this rib of the boxcar is standing out, things like that. And what I'm going to start with first is taking a little bit of masking tape, because there's a lot of dark areas and all these tiny little dust and everything will get on there. And so I just barely, of course the paint's dry, of course, and it's been a little bit since I've worked on this, so just going to do this through the whole painting here. And I suppose you could probably use a tack cloth like they use in furniture making, where you're getting the wood dust off, when you're cleaning up something before staining. I do have that tack cloth, and just now I kind of thought that might be a good idea too. But for right now, I just have this masking tape handy, and I'm just going to look for small little dust imperfections. Then I'll brush it off also with a soft brush, and then get to some painting. If I need a certain area, I feel it's too dry, I'll oil it out, which is taking a little bit of linseed oil very thinly in the area where I'm going to be working. And then that will allow me to work the paint on there much nicer. So until then, I'll get back to you and we'll go through this process. I think I'm going to work a little more in here, highlighting a few things, and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to be working on highlighting a little bit of the coupling and different parts within the shadows here, just a little bit. Mixing, I'm going to experiment with mixing a little cat orange with some Mars Black to bring out some subtle highlights. And if I want them to come out a little more, I'll just add a little more orange, cat orange. And just taking a little small brush, and where I see some areas, just barely touching the canvas, imagining planes of where it would be struck by light a little bit. And if I think it's too bright, you can always add a little more Mars Black. And just doing a little bit of highlight here and there. You can always tone something down if it's too bright. So that's something to remember also. I'm just going to put them all in here, stand back from the painting, study it from a distance, and then decide if I need to subdue the highlight or make it stronger. And it's important to spend that time stepping back to get a feel of what the work I'm doing in this one little area, how it feeds the rest of the painting and the appearance of the rest of the painting. So it integrates with everything else, doesn't draw attention to itself, because it is just shadows over here. So I don't want to be having the viewer be looking, hey, look at the great shadow. I want to be looking over here at the graffiti. And so that's something to keep in mind also. And just a little bit of highlights here on the springs, just ever so slight. And that's what I'm going to do, is just repeat that throughout here, and I'll get back to you. Okay, now I'm taking just a little bit of a paint mixed with a little bit of cat red, cat orange, and some white, and creating a value that to indicate the light on the rib of the boxcar. And just, I've already got it established a bit, but now I'm just chromatically a little brighter, trying to pull out so it really stands off more. And I'm not sure if the Kindle's picking this up, but I'll be, of course, doing some detail video on parts of the painting in a little bit. But right now, just a little brighter I'm going to get that to pop quite a bit. So while I have my reference photo, at a certain point the painting just becomes its own entity. And yes, you need information, but I'm really trying to have some fun with some abstract qualities to the piece with the graffiti and the scuffed paint, suggestion of scuffed paint, and that sort of thing, so that it becomes something stronger than the photo. And I know that sounds a little odd, but and it's hard to know when that finishing point really is, but when you kind of stare at your painting, I think it is, when you stare at your painting quite a bit, and you might just be doing a little of this, a little of that, but doing a lot of staring and not really, then I think it's done. There's a certain point when you have to think about that. Of course, I still have this to do, but now I'm going to work on the graffiti a little bit, and what I'm going to do is I have my mixture of the cat orange with some Mars black, and I'm going to do a little glazing over this yellow to suggest dirt and age and that sort of thing. And it's important, obviously, when you're glazing to use, I'm using a little bit of oil. Don't ever just use turpentine, because if you use just straight turpentine, obviously turpentine evaporates, and there'd be nothing, the pigment that's used in the glaze, there would be nothing that it's suspended in to stick to the surface of the painting, and it'll flake off. So the oil acts as an agent for the particles in the paint to adhere to the previous layer. So there's glazing medium like liquid, or I'm just using a little bit of linseed oil, and I can show you how I do that. I just dab into my oil a little bit, and just dabbing into the paint mixture a little bit, and you never really know how much you need in terms of darkness a little bit, so I'm going to experiment just lightly, dragging the brush on its side just to see what it looks like, and do get just a hint. Just gives the appearance of some age, some dirt, some scuffing, all that sort of thing. And I'm going to experiment with just a little more oil in it too. And if you think it's too much, I'm just going to take a little paper towel and buff it out a little and see how that looks. And if you think you've buffed it out too much, you can literally take a little turpentine and just kind of blot that out and clean it out and start over. But I kind of like that, and I'm going to do that with the rest of this, and we'll show some detail shots later. Okay, I'm at the point now. I'm probably, when I sit here and study it for 10 minutes, looking over certain regions, see if I missed anything, but I'm pretty happy with the outcome. I don't know if you remember from other parts of this series, which, by the way, I apologize for part 2 with the camera problems. It was awful. I didn't realize till after the fact and playback, and hopefully this comes out better for you. But on the left here, the vertical column there of the other boxcar, I added a little suggestion lettering, lightened it up a bit. I think it adds a little more interest. And this is trying to get some light on it here, and you can see how much this zooms in. Dirtied up the graffiti, and I also chromatically intensified some shadow area here where the white lines go into shadows. That added a little pop. There's some more roughing it up, especially along the leading edge, to suggest maybe the paint's starting to peel, a little rust, that sort of thing. And same in this little area here. And try not to go so fast when it's close up so you see the details. And I'm really liking it. So, I'll give you the final sign off here in a moment. I'm going to take a look at it some more, and I'll get back to you. Okay, I am going to call it good. Couple little things I want to go over. Nothing major, but normally I sign on the right hand corner side of the painting. I'm left-handed. I don't know. I've just always done that 90% of the time, but there's occasions where the composition is such that I didn't want to have my signature interrupt anything in this area. So I've signed it over there in the bottom left in the dark area. I think that's better. But the only thing I'm going to do once the paint tacks up just a bit is do another value of this over to bring out the lettering a little more. Nothing major. I love working on canvas because you can scumble and really get some textures. I really love the drag marks that canvas allows, depending on how smooth your canvas is. I mean, of course you can make it very smooth or buy it very smooth, but I like this. And I actually did a painting outdoors yesterday. I didn't film it, sorry. First attempt to paint some canvas outdoors instead of on my panels, 18 by 18, and I loved it. It's great. So I think I'll do that some more and do a little video of it. And really liking the textures in this piece. And I want to thank you for tuning in. If you've watched all, this will be the last and final part 4. Again, I apologize for part 2. That was a lot of funny filming going on, but hopefully this was better. And of course, with my window right here, depending on the light outside, along with my studio lighting, get different tones to the canvas, I suppose. But I hope you enjoyed watching these. And again, thank you for tuning into my channel. And if you like these and you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to see more videos. And any comments, put them in the comments box below. Thank you for watching. Just a few seconds of how I arranged my little painting area. I have my, of course, little homemade easel that I just prop up against my work table. And then off to my left, because I'm left-handed, I have my palette with the area long enough to have a few brushes on the left there. Then my cleaning station is right here. And I have 2 jars of terps. The one on the right is the initial rinse, and then the one on the left is the final rinse. Try to minimize just stirring up one jar of turpentine. And I did use a little linseed oil in my mixtures today. And what I'm thinking of doing when I have to varnish this, which I'm always, varnishing for me is scary territory. I end up sometimes doesn't seem to bond to certain parts of the painting when I brush it on. So with this one, I might experiment with rubbing it on there with a lint-free cloth. And it's because overall it has a pretty good even sheen, but I might experiment with that rather than brushing it on and running into potential problems. Any tips, just leave in the comments. But that's my little work area and station. The palette I use for my painting is a 12 by 16 glass palette with just a little piece of cardboard behind there so it's not against white, just give it some kind of tone. And it's a glass palette, and depending on how you have it set up in your studio, you got to be careful about light, because light can reflect from the glass, but I suppose you can get non-glare glass. That'd be an idea. But this is called a Masterson palette because it has a lid that snaps on, sort of like, if you think of it like a rectangular Tupperware container. I love this palette. I have like 3 of them. I've had it for years. One thing I recommend is when you peel it up from unsealing it, be careful how extreme you peel it up. See right there, I got a little crack. I could put a piece of duct tape over that and it'll be good enough. So when you loosen it, do a little bit, and work it around, and then pull it off. Got a little overzealous one time. So, and then it snaps on, saves the paint, just like Tupperware. Push all the air out, and then at the last corner, pop it down, and it keeps your paint fresh for quite a long time. Just a little tip.